So I'll cover all of this in detail in the other video. But instead of Yahweh saying, okay, I've seen your guys' suffering, so I'm going to set you guys free, take you to a beautiful valley where you guys can live in peace and happiness for generations to come. No, that's not what he says. He says, I'm going to make the Egyptians suffer so bad that they are going to pay you to leave. Literally give you all of their gold and silver and their clothes and everything. Just go. And these are the miracles that Yahweh performed. Turn the water to blood, a plague of frogs, gnats, flies, boils, locusts, darkness, and then going to take out all of the firstborn of an entire nation. You know, the miracles that Jesus performed were healing the sick, healing the blind, raising the dead, bringing good things into the world, life and love. Doesn't this seem like the exact opposite of that? Anyway, we'll go into that in detail in the longer video. Anyway, when he says that he's going to off every firstborn son of Egypt, he tells them to put blood over their doors so he knows not to go in there. As you will see later, there's something about blood that really stands out to Yahweh. Later, he has the priests sprinkle it on themselves, and he says it's like wearing a sign. But the all-knowing God needs a sign to understand who is his and who isn't. That's a little suspect. And also, yeast. He will not tolerate yeast anywhere near him. I think it's dangerous for him. So he tells them, you guys can't have any yeast for 7 days before. If anybody does, kick them out. Even future generations, 1 month out of the year, you're not going to eat any yeast in case he needs to come back and talk to somebody. But he says this like 5 different times in 5 paragraphs. No yeast. So after making every family in Egypt suffer the loss of their firstborn, and the 10 plagues that are very much in the domain of the Lord of Flies, Yahweh had made the Egyptians favorably disposed towards the people and gave them whatever they asked for, so they plundered all of Egypt. Where do you think they got all the gold to be making golden cows and whatnot? Once again, we have no yeast, no yeast, no yeast. This will be like a sign on your hand or your forehead, which sounds a lot like the mark of the beast, but there's something about yeast that really stands out to Yahweh. He then tells Moses, consecrate to me every firstborn male. The first offspring of every womb belongs to me, whether human or animal. Now, I thought we were all just intrinsically sons and daughters of the true God. But then Yahweh doubles down and says, no, I want all future generations to understand how powerful I am. I was able to take out all the sons of Egypt, firstborn. So from here on out, you are to give to Yahweh the first offspring of every womb. All the firstborn males of your livestock are to be sacrificed to me. Donkeys are special, which we'll get into the donkey-headed God in the other video. But he says that you can redeem a firstborn donkey with a lamb, so you have to sacrifice a lamb in place of the donkey. But if you don't redeem it, you got to break its neck. Then he says you can redeem every firstborn among your sons, but there's no explanation of how to redeem your sons. Now, this whole thing of offering up your firstborn males sounds really familiar. Just saying. Now, some people still hold this practice to this day. They bring their firstborn in on a silver platter. And if you look into the origins of the word redeem, it means ransom. So they ransom their firstborn back from God by paying the priest 5 shekels. Okay, so you have to pay if you want to keep your firstborn. Well, what if you don't have 5 shekels? Is it the same judgment as on the donkey? I'm sorry, but everything about this is just wrong. And once you go through and you see all this stuff, you can't unsee it. So that was the first law given to Moses, that every one of your firstborn are mine. So they're finally leaving Egypt with all their gold, all their clothes. The nation is in ruin. And I know people are going to say, well, yeah, but the Egyptians enslaved these poor people who are the eternal victims. Well, the Egyptians don't have any record of that, but they do have record of the Hyksos, who were Semitic people from the northeast, which is, you know what that area is. Some accounts say they came in through bloody conquest, and others say that they migrated there over generations and then usurped the power of Egypt. And when you know all this, it sounds a lot like the Dub Dub Deuce scenario, where they start in the middle of the story and say, oh, poor people, they were just minding their own business and nobody liked them. Well, that victimhood mentality is a hallmark as old as time with these people, evidently.